Hi everyone, welcome to this week's reading. This is for March 6th through to the 12th, and I'm going to start, as I always do, with the astrology for this coming week. So we still have the Sun in Pisces. It's about pretty much halfway through Pisces at the moment, but it has moved past Neptune. So what you may find this week is there's a little bit less confusion around you than there was last week, hopefully. So if you're feeling confused or indecisive, especially with the eclipse energy that we had previous week, you may feel that things are a bit clearer for you this week. You can, move along with things now. This Sunday, so the end of this week, Mars actually moves into the sign of Taurus, and it will be in Taurus until the 21st, roughly, of April. So what you'll find, especially if you're a Taurus like myself, is that you'll start to feel a bit more energized if you've been feeling tired with all that Pisces energy. I know I have, and it's just a feeling of when Mars is in your sign, you have the energy to get things done and you feel much more motivated. And if there are things that you've been putting off while Mars is in Taurus, as I said, till 21st of April, you'll be able to get a lot more done. You'll be more productive, you'll be more driven and ambitious, so that's quite good. And you'll be feeling quite strong in yourself, and it's a good time to start a new exercise routine or something along those lines to boost your energy. But don't burn yourself out, don't overdo it, because you can tend to sort of go to extremes a little bit with that energy, if you are, especially if you're a Taurus or a Scorpio with Mars in Taurus. The other thing is, Venus, I mentioned this on my social media. If you follow me on social media, you would have seen that I posted about Venus retrograde. So Venus is now retrograde, and have a look at, if you want more detailed information about this, have a look at my Facebook post on my Facebook page, and you'll see, I've written all the info there. So basically, just a quick rundown. Venus retrograde in Aries, mostly affecting those people that have strong Libra, Aries or Taurus. Aries because it's in the sign of Aries, and Libra and Taurus because you're actually ruled by Venus. So when Venus goes retrograde, it can bring back exes, it can bring back relationship issues that you've dealt with in the past to sort of come back again to reevaluate and go over and sort of look at, in a more realistic light. And things can come up in relationships that are difficult and need working on. And also, Venus is about self-worth, and it's about value and what you value. And so it is a good time to look at issues of self-worth in relationships, situations going on in relationships that need to be addressed, and just ironing those things out. So while Venus is retrograde, it's a good time to do that. And Venus is retrograde until, I haven't got it in front of me right now, but I'm pretty sure it was around the 15th of April. But it is, I did post the date on my Facebook page. I don't have the ephemeris in front of me right now. I just have my notes that I've written down. So the other thing is, the end of this week, when Mars goes into Taurus, we're actually going to have a full moon in Virgo. This is a very interesting full moon. It's at 22 degrees of Virgo. So have a look if you've got anything at 22 degrees in your chart, in particular a mutable sign. So that would be obviously Virgo, Sagittarius, Gemini or Pisces. If you have any of those signs around 22 degrees, this full moon will particularly have an effect on you. Now, it makes the full moon makes an opposition with Chiron, Chiron is about facing old wounds, and really, it can be a bit painful sometimes, but it's coming up this time to be cleared away, to be healed. And there's actually some positive energy here, because the full moon in Virgo actually makes a trine with Pluto. This is very positive and helps with transformation of those old issues. And, Virgo is all about purification, refining the self and improving yourself through, pruning away what you don't need in your personality, in your life, and keeping, what you do need to move forward. And so, again, with Chiron there, making that difficult opposition with the full moon in Virgo, it may be coming from a place of wounding where you may have felt that you've had to deal with something very painful or very emotional that is a pattern from your past, from early childhood, from parental influences, or anything to do with how you feel emotionally. And so, but because, as I said, it's trine with Pluto, you're actually being supported through this transitional time of healing and releasing a lot of these wounds from the past. So if something does come up that's difficult, a good way to see it is, it's coming up to be looked at in detail. That's Virgo, looking at something in detail and analysing it can help, because Virgo is a very analytical energy. So you'll be helped with sort of some self-analysis maybe, or even talking to somebody that can help you see things a bit more objectively, give you some good advice. But Virgo tends to be a bit of a self-sufficient energy, a self-sufficient sign, and so you may feel that you want to have time alone to process these emotions. So pay attention around that March 12th full moon this week, the end of this week, and see how you feel. But as I said, it's going to affect those that have around 22 degrees of mutable sign the most. And especially, if you have 22 degrees of Virgo, well, then it's even more powerful for you. Just lastly, I think I'll just add in that, Jupiter has been retrograde now. It's retrograde in Libra. So again, it's sort of bringing back the energy, focusing on relationships and growing in relationships. Are you growing in your relationship? Because Libra is all about relationships and relating. This retrograde continues until June 10th, so it's still there for a while. And I'll just add in that if you know your astrology chart and you have Venus or Jupiter retrograde in your chart, it's actually a good time for you when you actually have those retrogrades in your chart, and then the transits retrograde, those transiting planets retrograde, Venus and Jupiter, or either one, doesn't have to be both. You'll find that things come back to you in a positive way. You can refine things and you can go over things, and it's actually very helpful for you. So for some people with the Venus retrograde, if you have that in your chart, you can actually have a nice sort of break from some of the issues around Venus issues, which can be finances as well as relationships. I forgot to mention that before. So just in general with the Venus retrograde, it's a reevaluation of finances and relationships. But if you have Venus retrograde in your chart, then it's actually a bit easier time for you, okay? So let's look at the cards for this week and see what we have. And I'll just say, if you'd like a private reading with me, follow the links below to my online store where you can book a reading. I had my shop closed for about 48 hours there because I'm just still catching up on a few orders, but I'll be finishing those off early part of this week, and then we'll go from there. So this one flipped itself over, and that's a very nice card. I'm just going to get some more cards. When I get a card that flips out like that, it really gets my attention. I'm sort of torn between these two. I think I'll get that one. Oh, that card came up last week. How funny. Okay. So, a card from last week. This one here. Alright, so very interesting card. So the Ten of Cups, this is a very good card. It's a wonderful card of, I want to say for some people, maybe some harmony was restored after a difficult time in the last couple of weeks. So that can be part of it. So for some people, if there was an argument around the eclipse time, if there was some difficulty around the eclipse time, maybe this week you start to feel like you're getting back on track with things. You're just kind of feeling a little bit happier. Things might not be perfect. It is a good card though, but I'm sort of factoring it in with the other two here. Things may not be perfect, but you're making the best of situations. And I apologise if for some reason the camera is going out of focus, because sometimes I just am either too far away or too close. But anyway, I think that should be okay. So the Seven of Pentacles shows a need to work on things still, that could relate to relationships or finances, because, technically Pentacles is more related to the financial side of things, the practical side of life. But, I find that sometimes it can relate to relationships. So, for some people it's going to be actual work this week. There is focus on work and what you need to get done. And, you're feeling a bit more productive this week because, these cards here are very positive and supportive. The Strength card tells me that, even though you may have had some difficult things to go through, the card says that you have the strength to face these things and to get through these things. And, interesting, there is, before the full moon, the moon will be in Leo, so that's interesting because we have the lion there. So that will be on March 10th and 11th this week. So maybe it's a mention about those 2 days of this week. maybe, you know, needing to have the strength to deal with some issues this week as well. But like, I see it as being overall a positive week because we have such good, you know, overall very good cards, especially Ten of Cups and the Seven of Pentacles. You know, it's not a bad card. It's more neutral to me, but it's like working. But because it's next to this one, it's showing that you have the energy this week to work, to focus. Whereas last week may have been a bit mentally and emotionally scattered with all that Pisces energy, with the Sun conjunct Neptune. It was a very, you know, sleepy kind of week, a very kind of, you may have, a lot of people may have, especially if you're a sensitive type, felt very ungrounded last week. But this week the energy is more grounded. That's what I want to say. So good energies this week. Make the most of it. And, you know, if any issues come up for you on the full moon on the 12th, that full moon in Virgo, it is a really good opportunity to heal and transform and re-empower yourself after, you know, having to face maybe some difficult emotions. Have a great week, everyone, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.